Hello all, and welcome to a brink of the morning, 5 minutes till 12 a.m. beer review, which I am dubbing the, boy. Yeah, I had a bad day at work today. It's always a bad day when somebody's like complaining and it's like, you finally just get to the point where you say, you know, if you got a complaint, go and call my supervisor, go and call, resident manager, but don't bother me anymore about it, okay? Thank you. Here's her number. Have at it. One of those kind of days, you know? But that's why there's beer and there's pork. So I've eaten the pork, and now we're getting to the beer, and all will be good and beautiful and right in the world following this. So, what are we reviewing tonight? We will be reviewing Deschutes American Wheat. Now, this was released fairly recently. I haven't seen all the reviews seem fairly recent. And Best By 8/30/17, so it's kind of got a pretty short shelf life because a lot of live yeast in here. You can kind of see it swirling around down there. Now, this is 25 IBUs and 5.0 ABV. So let's read the label, shall we? Originally brewed in small batches at our pubs, this crowd-pleasing American-style ale delivers a tempting citrus aroma and light wheat character. So, it's an American-style wheat ale. We're going to be using this glass anyway, because there's a lot of yeast in it, and I find this glass kind of brings out the yeast in some good ways, you know? So, without further ado, of course, if you're just tuning in, this is a Hefeweizen glass. One of my 4 glasses. I've let this one warm up a little bit because I want to get a nice big fluffy head. Which you'll do now. So fairly bright yellow. A little bit, I think it's a little bit lighter yellow than your average Hefeweizen, which usually has touches of orange to it. And very cloudy, of course, yeasty and unfiltered, very carbonated. With a big, fluffy white head. I always polish my glass, and yet still somehow dust gets in there. And let's go and smell it, shall we? Definitely a lot of citrus notes up front, kind of combining with hop character, a little bit more heavily hopped than some wheat ales, but definitely not like, an India wheat ale, I suppose you would call it. Nice wheat funkiness, also yeast funkiness, but, not that sort of clovey, phenolic sort of Hefeweizen yeast. It's much more, traditional kind of yeast smell. Carbonation's kind of calmed down a little bit. Up front, lemon citrus, not too tart, just very slightly so. Lots of good baked cracked wheat taste. In the mids, a slightly resiny, slightly dank hopness kind of kicks in from the mid to the finish. So it finishes slightly on the dry side. There's still some residual sweetness there, but not as much as you would say in a Hefeweizen. Yeast character kind of shows up strongest in the mid. Big brief flash there, and then kind of subsides in the finish, as the hops kind of kick in. Probably the biggest taste aspect is the sorry, just getting that motor dust off my... I need to go and sweep and possibly purchase a vacuum because it's just getting kind of a little bit insane here. The dust bunnies. Where was I? Strongest character is, of course, the lemoniness, which kind of strongest in the front, but continues on into the finish. Even slightly lingers, really. You know, for so much live yeast in there, it's the yeast taste is kind of fairly subdued. Just fine by me. All in all, it's a great example of the American wheat style, you know, kind of contrast against the Hefeweizen style, which has much more of a sort of yeast character, usually is slightly on the sweeter side, and, you know, has fairly perceptible hopping, whereas this, you know, while not, well, by no means strongly hopped at only 25 IBUs, is much more apparent, especially in that finish there. So it's a well-made wheat ale. Nothing really that, you know, makes it stand out. It's better than a lot of American wheats that I've had, where it often feels like, is there even any wheat in here? Whereas this, you know, feels like, yes, it's a wheat beer. It's trying to do what the Germans do with the Hefeweizen, only with American-style yeast, American-style hopping, you know, and this is kind of successful in that. That said, nothing really stands out, you know, in big ways about the flavor. Nothing really that'll just knock your socks off. It's just a well-made beer. So I've kind of run out of things to say about this, which is kind of sad because, you know, it's a well-made beer, but the style is not a particularly complex style. It's a style that is refreshing to drink, as is this, and, you know, just one that maybe is a bit difficult to hit, considering how many people how many brewers have struggled with this American wheat style that I've had. Certainly, you know, I've had some where it just tastes like Bud Light with a little bit of funk added to it. So, 5.0 ABV, I think I mentioned that. Well, so, that is your beer review for tonight, folks. Cheers.